King Vorthak's mandibles clicked in amusement as he surveyed the pathetic defensive lines of the coalition forces. From his command throne aboard the dreadnought Eternal Dominion, the crystalline viewports offered him a perfect view of the siege. Below, 36 species had banded together to defend this worthless mining colony on Kepler 442b, and their efforts were nothing short of laughable. "Look at them, General Zix," Vorthak rumbled to his second-in-command, his four arms gesturing dismissively at the holographic display. "The Altarians with their energy shields, the Centauri with their particle cannons, the Vegan Collective with their swarm tactics, all following predictable patterns, all adhering to their species' traditional combat doctrines. The beetle-like—" General's antennae twitched nervously. "My lord, our intelligence suggests there may be humans among the defenders. Should we—" "Humans?" Vorthak's laugh was a sound like grinding stone. "Those primitive bipeds who barely achieved faster-than-light travel 50 cycles ago, what could they possibly contribute to this pitiful defense?" Below them, the coalition's defensive perimeter stretched across the mining facility's main approach. Energy barriers hummed with Altarian technology, while Centauri gunships provided aerial support. The insectoid vegans had dug an intricate network of tunnels, their warriors emerging to strike at advancing Vorthak forces before disappearing underground again. It was textbook military strategy, exactly what Vorthak's tactical computers had. "Predicted. Begin the assault," he commanded. "Standard overwhelming force doctrine. Their shields will fail within the hour." The first wave of Vorthak's forces descended like a metallic storm. His warriors were bred for conquest, each standing 3 meters tall with exoskeletons that could deflect most energy weapons. They had conquered 47 star systems using the same tactics, identify the enemy's predictable patterns, overwhelm them with superior firepower, and claim victory through brute force. The Altarian shields flared and sparked under the initial bombardment. Centauri fighters engaged in aerial dogfights, their ships weaving between Vorthak interceptors in graceful but ultimately futile patterns. The Vegan tunnels collapsed under directed plasma strikes, forcing the defenders into increasingly desperate formations. Vorthak watched with satisfaction as his forces advanced methodically. Everything was proceeding according to plan until the first explosion. It wasn't the placement that surprised him. Sabotage was a common enough tactic. It was the timing. The blast occurred precisely when his heavy assault mechs were crossing, a seemingly insignificant bridge, taking out not just the mechs, but creating a debris field that blocked the main advance route for exactly 47 minutes, the window needed for coalition forces to reposition their artillery. Curious, Vorthak mused, but dismissed it as coincidence. The second explosion destroyed a fuel depot that his tactical computers had deemed strategically irrelevant, except the resulting fire created a smoke screen that perfectly concealed the coalition's flanking maneuver, allowing them to strike at his forces' weak points with surgical precision. By the fourth explosion, Vorthak was no longer amused. "General Zix, explain to me how these primitive defenders are anticipating our every move." The general's mandibles clicked uncertainly. "Perhaps their tactical AI is more advanced than our intelligence suggested." The truth became apparent when Vorthak's forces finally broke through the coalition's outer perimeter. His warriors stormed the command bunker, expecting to find sophisticated alien technology coordinating the defense. Instead, they found a human. She was unremarkable by any physical standard, bipedal, carbon-based, standing barely half the height of Vorthak's smallest warrior. Her name was Captain Sarah Chen, formerly of the Earth Colonial Marines, currently serving as a strategic consultant to the coalition forces. She sat calmly at a simple computer terminal, surrounded by empty coffee cups and handwritten notes covered in incomprehensible diagrams. "Bring her to me," Vorthak commanded. When Captain Chen was dragged before him, she showed no fear. Her brown eyes studied him with the same analytical intensity he had seen in apex predators. "You've been coordinating their defense," he stated. She nodded. "Someone had to." "How?" "My tactical computers predicted every possible strategy your coalition could employ. Your forces followed no recognizable doctrine." Chen smiled, an expression that somehow made Vorthak's exoskeleton crawl. "That's because we weren't following doctrine. We were improvising." "Impossible. Military strategy requires systematic approach, predictable patterns, tested methodologies." "Does it?" Chen interrupted. "See, that's your problem. You think like a machine. You analyze patterns and predict responses based on what species have done before. But humans? We don't think like that." She gestured to her notes. "Every explosion, every random attack, I calculated them based on what would cause you the maximum confusion and delay. Not what would cause the most damage, but what would make you second-guess your own tactical assumptions." Vorthak leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. "Explain." "Take that first bridge explosion. Your computers said it was strategically irrelevant, so you didn't guard it properly. But I knew you'd route your heavy mechs that way because it was the path of least resistance. Classic psychology, even alien psychology, follows certain patterns." She pointed to another notation. "The fuel depot? Your scans showed it was nearly empty, so your computers ignored it. But I knew the residue would burn with enough smoke to block thermal imaging for exactly the time we needed. I've seen enough industrial accidents to know how these things behave." "And the timing?" Vorthak's voice had dropped to a whisper. Pure human intuition mixed with pattern recognition. "You see, humans are persistence hunters. We don't just track prey. We learn to think like our prey. After watching your forces for 6 hours, I could predict your movements better than your own computers." Chen leaned back in her chair. "The thing about human warfare is that we don't just fight with weapons. We fight with creativity, adaptation, and the ability to see 13 different solutions to every problem. Your species mastered one way of war and perfected it. We mastered the art of making it up as we go." Vorthak stared at this small, unremarkable creature who had single-handedly turned his unstoppable force into a confused, reactive army. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he had never experienced before. Uncertainty. "You realize," he said slowly, "that I could have you executed." Chen shrugged. "Probably, but it won't help you understand what you're really up against. Which is 4 billion humans spread across dozens of colonies, each one thinking differently, approaching problems from angles your computers can't predict." Her smile widened. "Good luck trying to conquer that with pattern recognition." King Vorthak looked out at his forces, still trying to adapt to tactics that changed faster than they could analyze, and for the first time in his reign, he wondered if some victories might not be worth the cost. The human mind, he realized, was the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy, precisely because it refused to be a weapon at all.